Good morning, and welcome to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you to Talk of the Town for this Monday, November the 2nd. I'm Gary Stevens. We'll have open line following the 10 and 11 o'clock news blocks. Jared Fritzma is in for Patty Vandenberg. What's new around Hellman? But in our opening segment, it is the first Monday of the month, and our opening segment is with one of the three men who represent Ottawa County in the state legislature, one of the actually three, not only actually state house more than the state legislature. We have four, actually, if you want to count Roger Victory in the Senate. But Brad Slaw, Jim Lilly, who'll be joining us in about an hour, and Luke Meerman, who joins us now via the Zoom connection, the first-term Republican from Coopersville, who represents Eastern Ottawa County. Luke, good morning, and welcome back to WHTC.
Good morning. I'm grateful to be here with you, Gary.
Glad you are with us. And if you have a question for Luke, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Luke is running for re-election for a second of what will be no more than 3 two-year terms. The state constitution says that for House members. So we'll see whether or not Luke will again represent Allendale, Coopersville, Jenison, and pretty much Eastern Ottawa County after tomorrow. But as you are campaigning, obviously with the R next to your name, you have to answer questions not only about what the Republicans are doing in legislature, but probably you've got to answer some questions about the presidential campaign. Has that been an uncomfortable situation, or has it been a situation of, hey, you know, look at what we've done, not try to defend what we haven't or should have been doing?
Sure, yeah, you're right. It's the connection is made top to bottom on the Republican side. And if I could just go back to your point earlier about the election tomorrow and me being on the ballot, I just want to make it clear that this is the people's district, the people that live in Georgetown, Allendale Township, Talmadge, Chester, Wright, Polkton, city of Coopersville. It's their district, and they get to decide every 2 years. And I think that's a great thing that we need to appreciate. What an honor that is for us to have that kind of connection to our representative government. And so it's the people's seat, is my point. But yes, they make that connection top to bottom, and federal politics, President Trump is definitely affecting the race top to bottom, and frankly, in the district I serve in, he's fairly well thought of.
Yes, and just one of the redder districts. If you want to, for the pundits saying, is it a blue district? Is it a red district? It's a red district. Certainly favorable to the Republican Party. Let me ask you a sort of a sticky wicket question, and it's not really something that you directly are involved with because you are in state legislature and state government. And of course, Coopersville is your base of operations, but Allendale is part of it. And what we saw earlier this month at a Ottawa County board meeting, the public comment section was a lot dealing with an Allendale Township situation about one of their leaders there and some of the discourse about, whether statue should be up, should be not. Some statements have been made. Has that been dragged into your situation? Hey, what do you think about all this, Luke, and all that? Do you have to sort of answer to something that might not be really a legislative question, but they throw it at you anyway, try to get you off balance?
Yeah, no, I have been involved in that just from the perspective that, it's important for Allendale Township itself, the health of Allendale Township. And because, currently, at least today, I still represent that township, I view it as my responsibility to be informed and frankly, be at the table. So I did kind of put together a meeting between Red Valley President and Adam Ellenboss and myself, just to talk about that issue in particular. My personal opinion is the statue should stay. I would love to see it there. I don't believe it's, in the vein of many of the other Confederate statues that people are frankly complaining about. It's a union and a Confederate back to back, and it's representing the Civil War. So for us to continue to erase our history, kind of cleansing it from anything that maybe was uncomfortable in the past, I think is a dangerous road to walk down. But in interest of Allendale itself and all that's concerned there, I think we need to keep walking down that road. What does that look like for Allendale Township? What does it look like for the statute? So yeah, I've been involved as much as I can in a careful way.
Now, let me step a little bit more to a general question than a state government question. We'll take some state government questions in a little bit, but if you have a question, by the way, listeners, you can join the conversation at 395-1450, 395-1450. Yes, you're only a first-term Republican, Luke, but you've seen, politics over the years, and are we getting to a point where we're really getting, for lack of a better term, a little bit too serious about all this, to sort of saying, anything will set us off. Anything will we're all on hair trigger attentions right now. It's almost as if, you say something or look something the wrong way, you're going to get people mad. Are we just so strung out? Maybe it's the political tensions, maybe it's the COVID fatigue, or what? But it just seems as if we're on edge right now. We're almost like walking a tight wire, and our emotions are on our sleeves right now. Do you get that sense as you talk with your constituents that maybe, we need to sort of tone things down a little bit?
Well, I think we need to continue to try to look at things through other people's eyes, and at least for sure respect them as people, as human beings made in the image of God, from my perspective. And once you do that, then we can hold our strongly held beliefs just as strongly as ever before. We can advocate for them. We can work for them. We can try to win elections for one party or the other. We can try to win elections on issues, whether it's gun rights or abortion. We can try to win those with all of our heart and all of our spirit and all of our mind. And yet at the end of the day, we have to remember that this hatred that can sometimes stem from all that is very dangerous. And Gary, I wouldn't have said 2 months ago this, but I am concerned about this level of hatred that's out there. I am concerned. I feel like it's a dry brush laying at the forest floor, and it's just ready to get set off. And so I am concerned for our nation in that sense. I'm not sure what's driving it all. It definitely is a divergence of opinions, whether you're arguing over the Supreme Court justice, or you're arguing over gun rights or masks, or you're arguing over any of a myriad of different issues. It has gotten so difficultly toxic out there. Again, it doesn't mean that you stop having your opinions and basically back down. It's just how you treat people when they disagree with you. I think that's the important part.
395-1450. Good morning. You're on Talk of the Town with State Representative Luke Meerman.
Yeah, hi. Luke, I think you would have to admit there is probably a little bit of disdain going on and a bit of turmoil and stuff coming from the top down. You can't deny it. It's even been within the relations between the Republicans and the Democrats in the House and the Senate with the governor. It's kind of a head in the sand thing. If you can't see that some of the stuff that's been said, from even happened over the weekend with, Trump people shutting down highways. There is disdain and dismay because it's been lopped from the top for the past 4 years. So you can't say that is not a part of it. And to say, "God, I really wonder what's happening." We know why it's happening. I hope it gets better, but just realize you admit to know what's really happening.
Appreciate the call. Thank you. You want to comment on that, please?
Sure. Yeah. It happens at all levels. I agree. I would push back on the idea that the last 4 years is unique and that our current commander-in-chief is the biggest perpetrator of it all. I would push back on that pretty strongly. I don't disagree that there are things that he says that I don't agree with, and I think they are not helpful. But there's also a whole plethora of people out there that have made it their business to make sure that his 4 years in office is ineffective, and frankly, throwing anything they can at him as a voice of the people, as our commander-in-chief.
Luke, I don't have the capability to pull up the comment or the soundbite in question, but over the weekend, Governor Whitmer appeared on some media outlets, including CBS News Radio. She chatted with Major Garrett of CBS News Radio with his weekly takeout program, and a statement I just want to get your thoughts on, because Major Garrett asked the governor about the fact of working with the legislature based on the fact that the 1945 Riot Act was declared unconstitutional. And does that have to compel her to maybe work a little bit more with Republicans? And she answered by saying, I work with the other side. I talk to Republican governors. I found that very interesting. She didn't say I was talking with Republican state lawmakers. I was talking with Republican governors, as if to say, I don't need to talk to the legislature. If I need to talk to a Republican, I'll talk to somebody I look eye to eye with, not in the legislature. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would kind of echo that. I think we need to, for the people of Michigan, figure out how to move forward together. We were able to get some liability good work done, I think, for businesses. I think that was really, really big. But you're right. I think that's, frankly, the only reason we got that done was because the 1945 law was struck down in the way she was using it. And so really only when we have leverage are we even at the table. I don't think there is any really working relationship from my perspective. I think there should be. I think we represent the people, we represent districts that we live in, and we do need to be at the table. Otherwise, the representative government isn't working very well.
Now, both the State House Speaker, Mr. Chatfield, and the Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Shirkey, had sent out for lack of a better term, an olive branch to the governor saying, let's start working together. I don't know whether or not we got a response from that. That was some like middle of last week that this is let's send a letter, and they sent a letter saying let's work together. Do you know if anything has come of that at all, Luke?
Well, when everyone else finds out about the latest health department decrees and rulings, we find out about them in the news. So, yeah, and I hear that right from the top, from the leadership, that they don't know any minute sooner than the rest of us. So in that case, it's just I'll operate by myself whenever I can without you, and when I have to, then we'll work together. So to me, that's kind of the attitude that's being taken right now, and I think it's a real disservice to the state of Michigan and the people of Michigan. We came out with a plan 2 weeks ago, a COVID response plan, how Republicans would propose that we deal with what's going on right now. And again, back to the liability protection for businesses, that is one time where I think we had some leverage, and the governor kind of came to the table, and we did sign in some liability protection for businesses. So I'm grateful for that.
395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Luke Meerman.
Good morning. I would like to ask if he thinks the governor is pushing her agenda through the health department. Like if you go to dine in restaurants now, I heard you have to give your phone number and when you order and stuff like that. And I wondered if that's how she's getting through without working with anybody else. Thank you.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much, Luke.
Yeah, to the extent that she could, she is, yes. And anybody out there can kind of see they mirror many of the executive orders. Not all of them could be repeated, and that's where we got our leverage to do business liability protection. But yes, for the most part, that is what's happening. I would suggest that I believe that's illegal, that names and numbers are asked for at the restaurant, and I'm pretty sure that will be overturned soon. I think it's dangerous, really, especially when you think of young women and just having that information out there. I think there's anyway, I'm very disturbed by that. And I, COVID is real. I've had a friend die from COVID, but our response to it is very scary to me. I think we've gone down the wrong road here.
If you got a question for State Representative Luke Meerman, he'll take it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Representative Meerman.
Number one, something you said about the governor, Gary, or Jerry, whatever your name is. You said that when they asked her, was she working with the legislature, and she said she worked with the Republican governors, and I think she was referring to me. That sounds like she was referring back to the things that she did as far as COVID when she first started out with her directives, because all the Midwest states did get together and talk about what the best procedure would be. And number two, Mr. Meerman, do you, and now I forgot my line of thought, do you think that this giving of names is to discourage people from dining out, or do you think it's so that we can possibly track a outbreak and stop it in its tracks?
All right, we'll get those response. Thank you very much for the call, Luke.
Yeah, sure. The people that, the governor, the health department, yes, that's their intent. They want to track it. But again, I think it's the wrong road to go down. I think you can look around to see, how things have gone already without that kind of tracking. And the restaurants represent less than 2% of the transfer of COVID between people. So I just think it's completely down the wrong path to decide that now this is necessary, when I think we have a good track record of being able to watch where this virus is going through other means. So to put this burden on the restaurant, put this burden on the young women and men standing at the restaurant entrance, asking them to ask people for their information. I'm very concerned about it.
And you have the last question for Luke this morning. You're on the air.
Okay, so why wouldn't, I think that they're targeting restaurants. Why wouldn't they check other public places like grocery stores, clothing stores, any other place you go into? I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you very much for the call, Luke.
Yeah, again, back to that point about less than 2% of the COVID cases has been, spread around at restaurants. So it's a very small percent. I think there's other places that we could look to maybe focus on trying to control outbreaks. And the restaurant, it's a very heavy burden for them. Frankly, they're on the edge. Many of them, 20%, 30% are not even going to open ever again. And we've got more than that are on the verge of not opening again next year. So it is a heavy burden that we've put on them. The governor's put on them with this executive order.
Good morning. You're on the line with State Representative Luke Meerman.
Yeah, Luke, do you think it was helpful for Governor Whitmer to go on a bus tour campaigning for Joe Biden? She's a co-chair of the Biden campaign. The state's basically in shambles. She's got all these emergencies declared. People can't get license plates for their cars, and the license branch is open full time. There's going to be lines for miles. People can't get their unemployment. I mean, this state just isn't being run well. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. I will acknowledge that it is the political season, and it's the time to go ask voters, to vote for a certain subject. So, we have President Trump traveling around doing just that too. But we are. This state, I think, is in many ways a shambles. There's some money on the table right now if the unemployment offices will open and Secretary of State offices will open. So we'll see if they take that deal. It's money on top of their already appropriated budget that they have. And those are conditions in order for them to get the extra money is to open their doors. unemployment again report a couple days ago, Fox 17. They asked for 96 documents, just a treasure trove of documents, and they got 9 of them. They paid for them. They were supposed to get them. 3.5 months ago, I asked for new leadership on unemployment. It's been a mess since. I still have people that have claims from the beginning of this COVID that haven't got any money. They can't get through. It's getting better. Many more people have it, but it's still a mess.
Luke Meerman, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on Talk of the Town. Wish you and the family well. Look forward to chatting with you again in about a month's time. Thank you, Luke.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you very much, Luke Meerman on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. CBS News is next on the hour.